Children 3 and Over by Pat and Kaya Mills. If this is your first visit, welcome. We invite you to sign the visitor's book in the entryway, and whether it's your first visit or your 1,000th, we are glad that you came. The service is also being live streamed on our YouTube channel. We will plan on continuing with hybrid worship services so you can join us each week here in person, on Zoom, or later on YouTube. To help us connect better with our friends watching from home, please turn around and give a wave to the camera. At the end of the service, we will invite our friends on Zoom to turn on their cameras and return the wave. I have a few announcements to share with you today. To help make the most of our time together, event details can be found on the printed announcements in the back of the room or the weekly email. If you have a joy or sorrow to share, please fill out the card on or near your chair. We invite you to bring them forward and place them in the basket after Bill rings the chimes and begins to play. You can also come forward to drop a pebble in the water if you have a joy or sorrow that you'd prefer not to share. In accordance with Article 8 in the bylaws, the board secretary announces that the annual meeting of the Congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua has been called by the Board of Trustees. This meeting will be held on Sunday, June 7, following the worship service in the sanctuary and on Zoom. Childcare will be provided. For the blooming season, May and June, the theme is Solidarity. The Solidarity Spirituality packets can be found by clicking the link in the weekly news or on the website under the Connect tab, or printed copies are available on the white shelves in the back of the sanctuary. For additional copies, contact Scarlett, the church administrator. Eli's Band Furniture will have a fundraising concert to support FLX Pride here at UUCC on Friday, May 29 at 7 p.m. $5 donations gratefully accepted at the door by cash or by Venmo. The Social and Environmental Justice Committee May meeting has been moved to Sunday, May 31st, following the worship service. This will be the last month of the $15 short sleeve t-shirt Side with Love sale, as Laura is modeling for us. Don't miss your opportunity to get one. We'll be wearing our Side with Love tees at the Pride events this summer. Ordering information can be found by clicking the link in the weekly news and on the white shelves in the back of the sanctuary. Are there any other announcements for the good of the community?
There are over here along the windowsill a few remaining spider plants and some other plants that are left over from our regeneration celebration. If you want them, feel free to drop a donation into the basket and take them home. Give them love and water. It's really, really hard to kill them.
As we prepare to be fully together, I remind you to silence your phones and devices. We now enter a space of worship. Now is the time to bring forward any joys or sorrows, or come up to drop a pebble.
Good morning. One way or another, this entire service is about love. Oh, let us draw sweet delirium down from the moon to cut through these earthly chains. As we spill molten light on the floor of this room, oh, let us weep and whisper these many names. It is in love we blind our eyes. It is in love we fall and rise. It is in love we vaporize. We dematerialize. Like a beast confined, we claw at this cage, though always the door is wide open. Like a thief denied, accused on this page, though both book and law are broken. It is in love we truly see. It is in love we are released. It is in love that we decrease. In love we cease to be. Oh, let us not be frightened. Let us not be ashamed as we open our palms in petition and we limp through the night, our hearts inflamed, oblivious to all official derision. It is in love we pay the cost. It is in love that all is lost. Upon this tender holocaust, oh, let the soul be tossed. It is in love we scale these walls. It is in love the empire falls. It is in love we wager all, and we heed the call enthralled. It is in love we're given sight. It is in love we ignite tonight. It is in love we bleed with this light. We become the sacrifice. We become the sacrifice. Oh, let us draw sweet delirium down from the moon to cut through our earthly chains.
I invite you to join me in our chalice lighting words. We gather this hour as people of faith, joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, silent our hearts for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
So for the opening words, the call to worship, I chose a quote from a Zen poet from long ago, Matsuo Basho. He said, "Seek not to follow in the footsteps of men and women of old. Seek what they sought." Seek not to follow in the footsteps of men and women of old. Seek what they sought. Let's go right to the children's story, the story for all of us. I love this tale. This is a story that has come out of many traditions, and at one point, Tolstoy took it and reshaped it into a story, a short story that he wrote. But it goes like this. There were these 3 hermits, and they lived on an island together, way out there in the middle of the ocean. And on this island, there was no one else around other than the animals that lived there and the plants that grew there. And these 3 hermits were mad, wild, holy men. They were these wild, old, wiry guys with long, matted beards and long, matted hair, and they danced up and down the beaches all day. They were ecstatics. They were living in a kind of delirium. And everywhere they went, the words that kept coming to them were, "All is one." These crazy wild men would dance on the beach, "All is one." They would fall down on the beach, "All is one." They would take coconuts from the trees and they would drink and eat, and all is one. They kept doing this over and over again, everywhere they went. When the sky was filled with glorious clouds, all is one. And when the rains poured down on them and soaked them to the bone, all is one. When the birds flew in the sky, all is one. When the wild dogs came down from the mountains and sometimes even bit their ankles, all is one. One day, they saw something way out at sea coming towards them, and it was something they had never seen before. They didn't know what it was. Let me grab some water. As it was coming closer, they saw that it was this giant ship. It was a big, glorious ship made of gold, and it shined in the sun. And it had red velvet sails on it. And they could see that there were some people on there on that ship that was coming towards them. They don't remember really having ever seen people before other than one another. And the ship drew closer and closer and closer, and finally it came right into shore. And these guys danced out there to greet them, to greet these strangers. All as one. Come on in. There appeared on the deck of the ship a man in a long, glorious robe, and he had a tall, pointed hat and a stick with a curly top on it, you know? And he came walking out, and he climbed down from the ship. He came down the deck, and he saw these wild men there. And he said to them, first thing, do you know the proper way to pray? Oh, yes, they said. Oh, yes. All is one. All is one. The man looked terrified, horrified. But you don't know the proper way to pray. Oh, teach us, show us. Come, please tell us. So he told them, and he would say a line, and then they would repeat it. Then he'd say another line, and they would repeat it. Another line, and so on, until they learned this thing. And they tried to welcome him in and show him around the island and so on, but he was pretty standoffish, kept to the ship a lot. And then eventually, he double-checked with them. Do you know the proper way to pray? And they said it for him. And then they danced around in gratitude some more. And he felt like, okay, maybe I've accomplished my job here. And so he got back on the ship, and the ship set out for the ocean again. 3 days later, nightfall was coming. And this bishop, for that is who he was, could not sleep. And he wasn't sure what was going on, but he just had a really hard time sleeping. So he went out on the deck of the ship in the dark at night. And suddenly, this curious thing appeared on the horizon. He saw this light shining. And it was moving closer and closer to him. And he began to feel really nervous about this. What is this thing? What is this? And he started to call on some of his soldiers. You know, what's going on here? What is this about? And he was really getting very nervous and very terrified. And the light kept getting bigger and bigger, and it was coming closer and closer. And suddenly he saw it quite close to the ship. And there were the 3 hermits, the 3 wild men, walking across the waves of the sea. They were walking on the water, and they were not drowning. And they called out to him, "Sir, sir, you have to help us. We have forgotten the proper way to pray." This man suddenly had the most amazing awakening of his entire lifetime. He turned to them and he said, "My friends, you know exactly how to pray. You don't need me. Go home to your island. All is one." Would you like to do an opening hymn? Or
No, it would be up to you.
let's just
We can move on, we can move.
let's do the Knot of the Heart.
So we'll have a
Is that okay? Would you sing a song with me? It's very simple words. Sorry, I'm not as well organized about this sort of thing as some people we know, you know. So let me just say again, with that first song, and with this song, with all of this really, what I became aware of quite early on in my life, and we'll talk about that more later, but I realized that we're not in this world for any reason whatsoever except to become love itself. So in that last song, when I say we cease to be, you know, that wasn't a negative thing. So the words to the chorus are this: unbind the knot of the heart, and then unwind the knot of the heart. Unbind and then unwind. Just follow me. It's easy. All harmonies are welcome. All dissonances are welcome. Nineveh and Babylon, Knossos and Thebes, I even bled for you among the Byzantines. Life after life, dream after dream. How is it these eyes still can't see? Take wing, banish tears, light the torch, confound the seers. This gate opens only once every 100 years. Unbind the knot of the heart, unwind the knot of the heart, unbind the knot of the heart, unwind the knot of the heart. I was left blind by the caravans. Still I sang your song, I did your dance. And I awoke to these alien tattoos on my hands. Jade earrings, bangled beads, your bronze bracelets all agleam, like silver stars on a mirrored sea. Bow down with me. Unbind the knot of the heart, unwind the knot of the heart, unbind the knot of the heart, unwind the knot of the heart. These bodies arise, walk through dreams. So many claim that they know what it means. I came here for love, to bear those beams. Bow down with me. Unbind the knot of the heart. Unwind the knot of the heart. Unbind the knot of the heart. Unwind the knot of the heart. Unbind the knot of the heart. Unwind the knot of the heart. Nineveh and Babylon, down in Knossos and Thebes. I even bled for you among the Byzantines.
Now is the time in our service to join together in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts of both time and money support our church in its work. Each week we would like to spotlight a group or committee and thank them for their gift of time. This week the group is Pastoral Care. People interested in finding out more can contact Kevin House or Reverend Cindy. One quarter of our plate collection for the blooming season will go to our service partner, Family Promise of Ontario County, who, empowering families threatened with experiencing homelessness to achieve sustainable independence through a community-based response, and are working with their partners to open Ontario County's first ever homeless shelter for families. You can give to this morning's offering by placing cash or a check into the basket, or by one of the options on your screen. Please make a note that your gift is intended for today's offering. We now gratefully accept the offering. We have joys. Carrie is feeling grateful for everyone who helped make her dad's memorial service so perfect. Danielle has joy for support from family and friends who have adventures and try hard things. And we are joyful for fields of yellow blooms this morning. For these and all the other unspoken joys and sorrows, I will drop another pebble. Please say it with me. We are with you.
Here's a poem. This is called Why Are You Here? And it's not why are we here in this room, but, in the bigger sense, why are we walking on this earth? If you believe that you came here to amass possessions, understand that this belief is ignorance. You will leave with empty hands. If you think that you are here to claim power, to control others, think again. You will leave alone, shunned, all eyes turned from you. The question is, and has always been, where do you begin and where do I end? Where do you end and I begin? Simply what is offered to one is offered to all. Bread in any language, called by any name, it's still bread. And know this, any fool can sleep his life away. Look, they are bringing pajamas and covers of goose down even now. But it takes great courage to open one's eyes. The world is our home. All humanity, our family. And then I get back up again. Imagine. Like I say, I'm not all that organized.
And also,
We often would sing Spirit of Life.
Yes, please. Spirit of light, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hands, bringing life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Thank you. So, Cindy asked me to say hello. She's at the other church up in Watertown doing a service this morning. It just worked out that way. So here are a few thoughts that I put together. to share today. And please, friends, just whatever serves you, take it with you and open to it. And anything that doesn't, just let it fall by the wayside. I was a fortunate child. For the first 7 years of my education, I attended a Catholic school. There's kind of a little joke in there, maybe. I mean, for all the oppressiveness that a Catholic school can but does not always represent, it is easy to see where my lifelong belief that human beings are not meant for institutions came from. Still, I was blessed by the experience. Those 7 years, surrounded by many who wore the big, bulky overcoats of oppression and guilt, and still somehow I managed to stay clear of it all. And I think it was the stories. I was there 1960 through 67, first through seventh grade. And I also had some nuns there who were just brilliant storytellers. I think it was the stories. I was fortunate because somehow I met the right people, and these wonderful, brilliant women told me passionate, electric, mystical tales about miracles and saints, stories in which heroic, common people wouldn't hesitate to die for love. It was as if these nuns all pulled glowing bottles out of the folds of their black robes and poured some shining elixir down my throat, and I've been inebriated on this stuff ever since. Love is what we came here for. That realization entered my being at a very early age and rang absolutely clear and true. So I wanted to know, if love is what we came here for, then why do we spend so much time doing all this other stuff that's so unloving? I remember saying to my third grade teacher, "Sister, if killing is wrong, then why are we killing all these people in Vietnam?" She stammered at first and then said, "Well, that's different. That's defending your country." For me, that statement sent up a red flag about the size of Idaho. I knew something was seriously out of whack. "But aren't we all the children of God?" I asked. "Yes," she said. I remember thinking, why are we sending the children of God to napalm the children of God? So I've been a pacifist and a conscientious objector all my life. But let's be clear, I've never had anything against soldiers. I know there's this very common thing of, protesters spitting on soldiers and so on. Yes, I'm sure it happened, but most of us, no. I have never had anything against soldiers. I was in alignment with the soldiers. It's the people who send the soldiers out to do what nobody should ever be asked to do. That's who I have trouble with. I always had deep respect for my own father who fought and was wounded in northern Africa. And he'd always respected my pacifist stance as well. But I believe in my heart that the finest way, really the only way, to truly honor my father's memory and the sacrifices of any other soldiers is to make certain that no one ever need fight again, to essentially render the soldier's profession obsolete. My view of the world, and by the world I don't mean merely this planet Earth, I mean everything that's ever existed. The plants, all creatures, every cloud, every solar system, the seen and the unseen, all of the planets. My view of the world is this: all of it. There is only one being. There is only one great being, and we are all a part of that. All of us and all things are expressions or manifestations of God, if you want to use the word, truth, the one consciousness, whatever you want to call it. We dwell in that which we try to approach when we use a word like God or the essence. We dwell in that. Here and now. The kingdom is at hand. And it doesn't matter to me if anyone wants to call it God, universal intelligence, life force, essence, great spirit, Jesus, Shiva, Christ consciousness, Buddha, nature, Parvati, energy, Higgs boson, Mother Kali, prana, truth, and on and on. It doesn't matter what you call it, because this incomprehensible mystery, no name, no label or concept will ever come close. You can talk about it endlessly for 10 million years, and you still won't even come close to defining it. It's vast and endless and joyful and wondrous. So, speaking for myself, that's how I experience that which people try to approach when they use a word like God. It's not a belief, nor is it something that requires what we would call concrete proof. There were those, remember, who had concrete proof that the world was flat. No, it's simply what I experience moment to moment, deep in the cells of my body and in my soul. Now, as a child, I began to notice patriotism. I noticed that people in authority all said that I lived in the best country on earth and that I should be proud to be an American. But the more I read and the more I observed, the more I realized that authority figures in many other countries were saying the same thing to their children. You live in the greatest country on earth. You should be proud to be German, French, English, fill in the blank. Now, how could that be? How could every country be the best? And how meaningful could that be when every one of these countries have at some time or another committed genocide or slavery, or at least held others at gunpoint to get them to believe in that greatness? I began to wonder if being the best wasn't meaningless. So at about age 14, I left behind my citizenship and my patriotism in favor of something more inclusive. I'm not an American, nor do I think of myself as an Italian, though my father was born on the beautiful island of Sicily. I'm just a human being, sort of, dwelling on this sphere with all the other human beings and all creatures and things. But really, we are so much more than that, so much more than these mere bodies. Let me say that I have no enemies. National boundaries are an illusion, flags are an illusion, and since God, for lack of a better term, is present everywhere, I will not go to some other part of the world to blow away people I don't know just because some president told me to. How do you justify blowing away God? Instead, I walk with the poet William Blake. Blake said, "Everything that lives is holy. Everything." Now, anytime I say everything is holy, someone invariably says, and it's a good question, what about Hitler? Well, let me say briefly that yes, even Hitler held the divine spark at the center of his being, but he was clearly, absolutely unaware of that. He didn't have a clue. When one becomes so removed from an awareness of that sacred center, one just becomes empty. Some absurdly try to fill that emptiness with material possessions, and some with what they think of as power, and it leads them to violence and hatred. And what is the most self-destructive thing any human can do to his or her own self? To hate others and do violence against them. I've thought long and hard about Hitler's Germany. You know, in Germany in the 1910s and 20s, the so-called child-rearing experts of the time all preached that it's the parents' responsibility to break the will and spirit of the child, to make the child subservient and obedient to authority. Children of that time were taught duty and allegiance to the fatherland. They were taught, you should be grateful to live in the greatest country on earth. Be proud to be German. Where that led them is grievous history. But what if instead those same children in the 1910s and 20s had been taught, you are holy. You are priceless and sacred, and every other being you meet, likewise, is holy. What a gift to be alive. Your responsibility, children, is this. Make this entire world a place of tenderness and comfort for every being you meet. Had that been the case, had they been taught that, then by the time Hitler came along, no one would have believed his lies. They all would have looked at one another and said, this guy's a poor, demented paper hanger. He really needs our help. Does any of this sound familiar? Now, to be clear, yes, there is a good side to patriotism in its own way. There are wonderful, sincere people who think of themselves as patriots, who value freedom, and who want to make the place where they live safe, clean, prosperous, and happy. It's a beautiful idea. And it's sadly limited. I ache when I think about how limited. I am asking simply that we all expand our concept of the place where we live until it dissolves the illusion of national boundaries, until it becomes the entire planet and beyond, until it includes everyone. Impossible, some say? Only if we believe it is impossible. In my own life, I have seen numerous so-called enemies become friends simply because I refused to believe in their eneminess. The great mystic Albert Einstein, and we're going to visit him a couple times today. Albert Einstein said, it is impossible to simultaneously prevent and prepare for war. He wasn't simply expressing a nice idea. Einstein was talking physics when he said this. He's saying if you invest yourself in the beliefs of contempt and distrust for others, you yourself will become contemptible. And if you create an exclusive system that is based on contempt and fear of the others, the outsiders, then it won't be long before that system's economy becomes dependent on the manufacture and sale of weaponry. Nice people going to work every day in a state of denial, building machines and devices that slaughter innocents. So Einstein says it's a physical impossibility. You cannot simultaneously prevent and prepare for war. You must choose. When I was 25 or so, I lived in Manhattan, and I used to go several times a week to practice sitting meditation with a Zen monk at the Daibozatsu Zendo, a Zen temple there. He was fond of the moon and often used to meditate under it in the garden behind the Zendo at night. He would sometimes refer to himself as a first-class lunatic. Sometimes when giving Teisho, which is a kind of formal Zen Buddhist talk concerning Dharma and meditation practice, he would refer to what he called endless dimension universal mind, his phrase for the great mystery in which we are all swimming and of which we spoke earlier. He would whisper the words as if they were delicate and sweet, and he'd whisper endless dimension, universal mind with great reverence, as if he were holding a tiny bird in his hands. Yet his conviction and solemnity were like iron. And then suddenly in the middle of it, he said, "What did the Buddhist monk say to the New York City hot dog vendor?" And the very serious Zen students would all look at one another, shocked or confused. Some of them maybe were just used to it. And then the monk would deliver the punchline. You know the punchline?
One with everything, one with everything.
Make me one with everything. And then in the very next instant, he would pick up where he left off in his sublime and mystical Dharma talk. He didn't seem to be so very interested in being a Zen master so much as he was interested in just being. To me, that's a beautiful example of true nature without name. He's just there doing service. Jesus talked about this same idea. When you make the two become one, he said, and when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, and the upper like the lower, and if you make the male and female one, so that the male is no longer male and the female no longer female, then, he says, you will enter into the kingdom. When you make the two become one, then you understand there are no outsiders, no them and us, no one true religion or best country on earth. When you make the upper like the lower, then all are equally valued. And the reconciliation of male and female, when you realize that the ever-present divine is both male and female, and neither male nor female, all in the same breath, in every molecule, particle, and wave. When we get the subtleties of this beautiful koan that the Christ puts across here, we enter the realm of possibility of grasping our true nature, that which is beyond all names and all concepts. We don't have to believe in it. We are it. We enter the kingdom very much at hand, the realization that all is one. And as the Hindus say, Tattvam Asi, it means thou art that. I deeply love the human traditions, the folk tales and mythologies and spiritual practices of every culture. They all hold great, deep truths, and if we can collectively embrace the best of what they have to offer, then we'll see that the paths are endless, that life is endless. And we will come to see that we are not these tiny identities that we get so attached to. We are not Americans or Germans or Russians or Arabs. We are not Christians or Muslims or Hindus or atheists or Sufis or Unitarians or communists or capitalists or factory workers or lawyers or poets. As we realize the vision of true nature beyond name, our true nature, then we come to see that no label or identity, including true nature beyond name, comes anywhere close to defining the vast, endless, limitless, wondrous miracle of what we truly are. Let us be awake to this moment and bless and serve one another. For the closing words, I'd like to give you Einstein again. So beautiful. And I love what he said here. And it's an introduction to this last song. And I know we started late, and I've been going on a long time. So if anybody needs to go, please just get up and go. Don't hesitate. But here's what Einstein said. He said, nationalism is an infantile disease. It is the measles of mankind. I love this idea because there's an inference there that in time, hasn't happened yet, but there's an inference that in time we will mature past this illness. Can we put those words up? Thank you. So this is a song I wrote maybe in 1998 or something, somewhere in there. So here's the way the chorus goes. If you want to sing, please do. And if you don't want to sing, it's okay. I'm not the kind of man who would make you. So the chorus goes like this. So many golden bodies circle in the fires. How long these souls have waited to be free. Behold these golden bodies circle in the fires, dancing on the ashes of empire. Dancing on the ashes of empire. It's pretty simple. The words are there. And let me just say, again, as I've stated here more than once, I'm a pacifist. So I'm not talking about literally burning down anything for God's sake, okay? But I'm talking about living in such a way that no tyrant can touch you. Live from the center of your soul. Did you see them taking off their masks? Casting off the agonies of the past. Looking into one another's eyes at last. And dancing on the ashes of empires. Can you see the face behind the face? Can you feel the sacred in this space? There are no enemies here, no one can desecrate this place. Let us dance upon the ashes of empires. So many golden bodies circle in the fires. How long these souls have waited to be free. Behold these golden bodies circle in the fires, dancing on the ashes of empires. Dancing on the ashes of empires. Everybody's walking on the water tonight. Walking on the waves in the glowing moonlight. Coming out of the caves and playing on panpipes. And they're dancing on the ashes of empires. So many golden bodies circle in the fires. How long these souls have waited to be free. Behold these golden bodies circle in the fires, dancing on the ashes of empires, dancing on the ashes of empires. Soldiers now can rest their weary heads. No more to war on the battlefield's red. But lo, their bones are rising up from the dead to dance upon the ashes of empires. So many golden bodies circle in the fires. How long these souls have waited to be free. Behold these golden bodies circle in the fires and dancing on the ashes of empires. Dancing on the ashes of empires. Let no one be barred from the celebration. All our kings and queens at this coronation. Love dissolves the boundaries of all nations. Dancing on the ashes of empire. So many golden bodies circle in the fires. How long these souls have waited to be free. Behold these golden bodies circle in the fires, dancing on the ashes of empire. 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 Thank you for being with me this morning.
If you are with us today on Zoom and would like to wave goodbye at the end of the service, you can turn on your cameras now. Our flame has faded into imagination, but we can still, please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Until we are together again.